question is, where do we start? Where do we start in confronting this situation that we're faced with? So I think it's important to get grounded for the journey ahead and to start confronting our fears and our anxieties about this moment head on, to sit with them and then move beyond them so we can get into conscious action. So with that in mind, our activity today is based on a short article called Face COVID, written by Russ Harris, who's a well-known Australian psychologist and author of a book called The Happiness Trap. Now, in this article, Harris offers a concise, step-by-step approach for facing the uncertainty of the coronavirus crisis based on something called Commitment and Acceptance Therapy, or ACT. Now, this is a model that was recommended to me by a number of psychologists, and it's something that I've drawn on in my own therapeutic journey. You can access this article via the link on the slide here, but I'll also put the link in the show notes as well. So this is Russ Harris's basic model, Face COVID, in the article. It's not sophisticated, it's a process. It's not a magic bullet. It's to help you to get grounded so that you can put one foot in front of the other and make the next decision. And that's really where a lot of us are at right now. So the process, start by focusing on what's in your control. Acknowledge your thoughts and feelings. And as you're doing that, come into your body. Then engage in what you're doing. So that's really the first step, is just getting grounded. And then the second phase, the COVID phase in this model, is about getting open to committed action, to opening up about where you're at, and getting clear on your values. And once you've done that, identifying the resources that you've got available to you, and of course, disinfecting and distancing in line with the health recommendations of the moment. So the activity that I'd like us to work through is to go through each of these steps in turn and lay yourself a conscious foundation to get through this crisis, to make that next decision, whatever that decision happens to be in your circumstances. I encourage you to write down your responses somewhere, and even to keep a diary of what you learned through the Social Permaculture Online Bootcamp process. These are the tools and resources that you can use in the future and to share with others in the same way that I'm sharing what I've learned with you now. Do use Russ Harris's article, which is linked in the previous slide. It's also linked in the show notes. Do that, work through that, read that as you work through your responses here, because he goes into more detail. But let's go through each of these briefly. First off, Harris argues that the single most useful thing anyone can do in any type of crisis is to focus on what's in our control. Once you've read this section in the article, do a quick inventory of the things in your life right now, either big or small, over which you've got some kind of agency, and write this down as a list. So pause the video and have a go at this. Great. Next, Harris asks us to silently and kindly acknowledge whatever's showing up inside us. Our thoughts, our feelings, our emotions, our memories, any sensations and urges. Because this is important coded information that will help us get through when we can open up to it. It is hard to be still for a moment and just sit with your thoughts and sit with your emotions as they come up without judging them or trying to fix them or trying to act straight away. This is an acquired skill. But once you've taken some time to sit with that, write down whatever thoughts and feelings come up. So pause now and have a go at this. A way to get in touch with and honor those thoughts and feelings that come up is coming back into our bodies. And this is something that Harris prompts us to do. I'm also influenced by other prominent psychologists like Bessel van der Kolk and Gabor Mate, who've argued that the body is a storehouse of all of our past traumas and our current tensions, and that learning to be aware of what's going on in our bodies is an important step to releasing those tensions. And indeed, I'll share references to those sources in the show notes and can send you PDF versions of their work if you get in touch with me. But take a moment now to do the brief physical and mental exercises that Harris recommends in the Face COVID article, because this is a good starting point. Once you've gotten centered in your body, the next thing Russ Harris asks us to do is to get a sense of where we are and to refocus our attention on the activity that we're doing, on that next step. So pause now and follow the recommendations in his article. Okay, so now we're grounded and ready for action. So now let's return to that action list that we made at the start of this exercise. So for Russ Harris, committed action means effective action that's guided by our core values, action that we take because it's truly important to us, and actions that we can take even if it brings up difficult thoughts or feelings. And all of those things are likely to apply in this moment. So Harris has got some prompting questions which I think are useful to consider here as we do this. So what are the most effective ways to spend our time under social distancing and self-isolation? That's a question that everyone's facing at the moment, and the answer to that question is going to depend on you and your unique circumstances. What are some simple ways to look after yourself, as well as to look after the people that you live with and those people around you that you can realistically help? What kind of caring and supportive deeds can you do? Can you say some kind words to someone in distress, either in person or over online media or on the phone? Can you help someone out with a task or a chore? Can you comfort and soothe someone who's unwell or help them to access whatever medical assistance is available? This kind of quick inventory gives you some clues about what you can do right now. What kind of committed actions you can take to be useful in the moment and to help yourself and the people around you in the moment. We also know that whatever actions we take, whatever choices we make right now, are filled with anxieties because of all of the uncertainties and fears that are floating around. So Russ Harris asks us to be kind to ourselves as this happens and be willing to open up about these difficult feelings. So with that in mind, I encourage you here to write down what your fears and anxieties are about the current circumstances, both now and also as they arise moving forward. Writing them down can reduce some of the crippling emotional burden that our fears and anxieties can weigh us down with. And I know through my own journey that diarising and writing down these things has helped. It doesn't get rid of them, it doesn't eliminate fears and anxieties, but it helps you to get a grip on them, putting pen to paper and or having that discussion with trusted others. The next step in the Harris formula is to think about our core values, which are the foundation of committed action. So the questions that Russ Harris poses in the article are helpful. What do you want to stand for in the face of this crisis? What sort of person do you want to be as you go through this? And how do you really want to treat yourself and others in this time? Now, I think the three permaculture ethics of earth care, people care, and fair share are a really good touchstone for committed action. They're a really good basis for the kind of values that you want to bring to the table as you actualize those questions. Well, now that we're coming from a place grounded in values, grounded in ethics, we've got that sorted, let's do a resource scan. So Russ Harris asks us to identify the resources for help and assistance and support advice that we've got around us. And that could be through your networks, through friends, family, neighbours, as well as health professionals and emergency services. What's the web of assistance that you've got around you through the people and institutions in your orbit? It would include writing down emergency help phone numbers, including psychological help if you need it. This is also a good time to reach out through your social networks and to use the power of networked online communication. I mean, the internet was invented for scenarios like this to maintain communication when the ordinary structures of society start to break down. And really important, find a reliable and trustworthy source of information for updates, real-time updates on the crisis, because we need to be informed. The governments strategy and tactics on this are evolving day to day, as is the situation on the ground. So reliable information is critical. And if you're able to offer support to other people, let them know now. Let them know that you can be a resource for them, and just as they can be a resource for you. But having those conversations, activating those connections now. Don't wait for something to be wrong. Activate your networks immediately. And finally, the D in the Face COVID framework is a reminder to practice good hygiene and social distancing to reduce the spread of the virus. For people like me and many of you who are able to be at home and be out of harm's way and to be able to socially distance, we owe it to the people on the front line who have to be out there and who've got jobs to do to reduce the risk that they're facing by getting out of the way. And that's a really important contribution at this time. I want to thank you for being willing to enter that vulnerable space in completing the Face COVID activity from the Russ Harris article. We're getting real, we've got a plan, and we're going to get through this as best we can. Till next time, much love.